There's a photograph on the wall of your office. It's not of a yacht. It's not of you shaking hands with anyone important. It's a faded picture of a man standing in front of a small auto repair shop in 1979, squinting into the sun. His name stitched onto a uniform that wasn't his. It belonged to the company he worked for. That's your grandfather. He died with $4,000 to his name and a debt he never finished paying. You are worth $1 billion, and the strangest part, the part nobody warns you about, is that you can draw a straight line between that photograph and this office, every link in the chain, and not one of the links is luck. Let me show you how it actually happened. Net worth, 0. You're 19. You work the overnight shift at a distribution warehouse, loading trucks from 10 at night to 6 in the morning, $12 an hour. Your father did warehouse work. His father fixed cars. The men in your family have always been the ones who move the heavy thing, never the ones who own it. You're not bitter about this. You don't have the luxury of being bitter. You have rent, but you notice something on those night shifts that the other guys don't seem to notice or don't let themselves think about. You notice that the warehouse you're breaking your body inside of is owned by a man you've never met. That man has never loaded a single truck, and that man makes more while sleeping than the 40 of you make all night, combined. The other guys see that as unfair. You see it as information. You start asking a question that will define the next 20 years of your life. Not how do I get paid more for this work? That question has a ceiling, and the ceiling is low. The question you start asking is, how do I get on the other side of this? How do I become the one who owns the thing instead of the one who moves it? You don't have an answer yet. You have a $12 an hour job and a question, but the question is the seed. Everything grows from there. Net worth, $11,000. You're 23. You still have the warehouse job, but now you do something in the daylight hours that the night shift version of you couldn't have imagined. It started by accident. A guy at the warehouse needed a logo for a side business, couldn't afford a designer, and you'd been teaching yourself design in the cheap hours of the morning. You made him a logo for $60. He told someone that someone needed a whole website. Within a year, you have a small freelance operation running out of your bedroom. Logos, websites, brand work for small local businesses who can't afford an agency. You're charging $400, then $800, then $1,500 a project. And one night, around 2 in the morning, you realize something that changes the entire trajectory. You are still trading time for money. It's better money, but it's the same trap your grandfather was in, just with a nicer ceiling. When you stop working, the money stops. You're not on the other side of anything. You're just a more expensive version of the guy loading the truck. So you ask the next question, how do I make something once and sell it many times? That question is the difference between a high earner and a wealthy man. Most people never ask it. You ask it at 23, at 2 in the morning, exhausted, and it reorganizes everything. Net worth, $400,000. You're 28. You noticed doing all that freelance work that every small business you built a website for had the same problem afterward. They had a website and no idea how to get customers to it. They'd call you, panicked, a month later. Where is everybody? You couldn't solve it one client at a time. But you started to see the shape of a solution that wasn't a service, it was a product. A piece of software that did the thing your clients kept begging you to do for them, automatically for a monthly fee, for anyone. You can't build it. You're a designer, not an engineer. So you do the thing that separates the people who own from the people who work. You find a partner. His name is Daniel. He's a brilliant, broke, slightly arrogant engineer you meet at a meetup, and you spend 3 hours at a diner afterward convincing him that your idea plus his code is worth more than either of you alone. You give him half, 50% of nothing, he jokes. 50% of everything, you tell him, and you mean it. This is the first time in your family's history that someone built a thing that makes money while its owners sleep. The first year is brutal. You keep freelancing to fund it. You burn your entire $400,000 in savings and revenue keeping the lights on. Daniel almost quits twice. Your friendship nearly ends 3 times. But by the end of year 2, you have 800 small businesses each paying you $90 a month. That's $72,000 a month recurring, whether you work or not. You are, for the first time, standing on the other side of the warehouse wall. Net worth, $40 million. You're 34. The software company grew, not magically, but through 1,000 unglamorous decisions. Hiring slowly, reinvesting everything, refusing to sell too early when the first offer came in at 12 million and Daniel wanted to take it, and you talked him off the ledge at 4 in the morning, again, in another diner, because by now diners are where your life's biggest decisions get made. You didn't take the 12 million. 3 years later, you sold a majority stake for 60, and here is where most people would stop. $60 million, a number that ends the story. You could put it in index funds and never work again and live extraordinarily for the rest of your life, and so would your children. But you've learned something the warehouse taught you and the software confirmed. The people who get truly generationally rich are not the ones who protect a big number. They're the ones who deploy it. The money is not a destination, it's a tool, and an idle tool is a wasted one. So you do the thing that terrifies the part of you that remembers being broke. You take that capital and you start buying, not stocks, companies, small, boring, profitable companies whose owners are retiring with no one to take over. An HVAC company, a regional logistics firm, a packaging manufacturer, unsexy businesses that print cash. You buy them with a mix of your own capital and borrowed money. You install good operators, you improve them, and you hold them. You become the man you noticed at 19, the one who owns the warehouse, except now you own 11 of them. Net worth, $1.1 billion. You're 46. It didn't come from a lottery moment. There was no single day where you became a billionaire. That's the myth. The truth is almost boring. You owned a collection of cash-producing businesses and a large stake in a software company that kept compounding, and you kept rolling the profits from each into the next. And somewhere in your 40s, the lines on the chart did what compounding does at the very end. They went nearly vertical. The first 90% of the money took 20 years. The last 90% took 4. That's the part nobody understands until they live it. Wealth isn't linear. It crawls for a long, punishing time, and then it moves faster than you can quite believe. And the people watching from the outside only ever see the fast part and call it luck. You think about your grandfather a lot now. The $4,000, the borrowed uniform. You used to think the distance between him and you was money. You don't think that anymore. The distance was a question. He was never taught to ask it because nobody around him had ever asked it either. How do I own the thing instead of moving it? That question skipped 3 generations and landed on you. And you don't entirely know why you were the one who heard it. There's the photograph on your wall. People who visit assume it's sentimental, a nice gesture, the humble origins prop that rich men like to keep around. It isn't that. You keep it there because it's the whole thesis. Your grandfather was not less intelligent than you. He was not lazier. He worked harder than you ever have, with his hands for 40 years. The only thing he didn't have was the question, and a world that would let him act on it. You had both. The $1 billion is real, but it was never the point. The point was proving that the line from that photograph to this office could be drawn at all. That the man in the borrowed uniform was always capable of standing where you stand. He just never got the chance to find out. You did, so you keep building. Not because you need another dollar, because somewhere out there is a 19-year-old loading a truck at 3 in the morning, starting to ask the question, and you intend to be the one who owns the warehouse he's about to walk out of.
If you want to see how women treat you at different levels of wealth, there's a video right here. Subscribe if you want to see more like this.